Welcome back, fellow value investors. We are in the fourth week of a great rally in stock prices. For the first three trading days of the week, we are seeing a positive market for stocks, both for the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Dow. It has been a fun time to see stock prices go up for companies that I believe in. I'm a value investor and I try to buy when buying is good, which means when there's a lot of fear in the market and prices are being discounted for great companies, I buy. And I haven't been buying a whole lot in November. Why? Because stock prices are just flying up, which is a good thing. And I would ask you a question, which is how much money you've made in November. Think about it and soak it in, because when times are tougher, when there's actually big sell-offs, we got to remind ourselves that, the principles we follow as value investors is to really buy into companies we want to own for a long time and buy when they're discounted, when the market doesn't like them. And these times help us, re-energize our enthusiasm for value investing. And I would encourage you to think along those lines. So I'd like to go over where the markets are at and where interest rates are at, where volatility's at, and to share with you where I think the market's headed. I'd also go over a couple companies that are big winners in my portfolio that I'm really glad I'm an owner, but just showing that, hey, these companies were just completely sold off and have really rallied back to reward stockholders. As of November 23rd, 2023, the S&P for the day trading, it went up 0.41%. The NASDAQ was up 0.46%. The Russell, which is the small stock index, 0.69%. The VIX, the volatility index, it went down, which is a positive for stocks. When volatility goes down, stocks tend to really rally. So it was a good day. And overall, for the rally that started at the end of October, we're up 10.62%. And that really does match the high for 2023 and really the all-time high for the market. And we recovered a lot of losses that happened over 3 months. We've recovered them in less than a month. So it's been a really fast rally, which has been really fun to watch. Now, this week we had one piece of data that probably affected the market the most, and that was initial jobless claims. And that is, how many people are losing their jobs and having to apply for unemployment. And the rate of new applicants was actually lower than what was expected. And that was good news for people, the economy, somewhat of a little bit bad news for stocks, because if this number would have been very high, let's say it was at 300,000 initial jobless claims, the Federal Reserve would have been more inclined to reduce rates faster. Hey, we got to reduce rates because people are losing their jobs. We got to get the economy going. So initial jobless claims coming in lower than expected is going to have the Federal Reserve hold interest rates where they're at longer, potentially even have like a quarter point raise in 2024. That's probably not going to happen, but it just brings up the chance if the economy continues to show that it's strong. So that was a little bit of bad news for stocks, good news for the economy. Now, what's encouraging is that even though we had some bad news, we still had an up day. So it shows that the market is, not letting a bit of bad news get in the way of what naturally is happening, which is investors are coming back into the market. So let's take a look at interest rates. So looking at interest rates, the treasuries from the 1 year to the 7 year, the interest rate went up on these treasuries. And that's likely because the initial jobless claims went down. And that would probably be a data point that would favor rates staying where they're at for a longer period of time. So the market's saying, okay, interest rates on these bonds or these treasuries are going to go up. The 10-year pretty was unchanged. It was a tiny change downward. And that's where rates were at. One more conclusion on this is when rates go up, stock prices tend to go down. And it's just the discount rate on stocks goes up, then the value of that stock goes down. But the market fought through this headwind and still went up today, which is very encouraging. Again, the market investors are saying, I want to be in equities. I want to be in stocks. So they're fighting through some of these headwinds and causing the market to go up. So that's another bit of encouraging news that this rally is real. There's a lot of investment happening, and a couple of small bad news stories. For example, the jobless claims being lower than expected, interest rates going up a little bit, is not keeping the market from doing what it naturally is doing, which is investors are buying into equities and driving up prices. So the volatility index tells us, how much fear is in the street, how much fear, is in the stock market. And to kind of show where we've been over the last 6 months, here's basically the very end of July 31st. And the VIX was going up, and that caused the stock market to go down about 10.2%. We've seen a big decrease in volatility index, big decrease in fear. Investors want to buy stocks, investors want to be in equities, and the stock market has really rallied 10.6% in a shorter period of time than the previous rise. The previous rise took 3 months. The current drop in VIX took less than a month. So really interesting to see the VIX. I look at the VIX just to tell me, what the attitude of the market is. I don't do a lot of technical analysis. I'm a value investor. I want to buy good businesses, and I buy them at a discount and then hold those shares. But it is good to see what the market's doing, what's the attitude of the market, what's the emotion of the market, which tell me, hey, that the market, when the VIX is going up, there's a lot of fear. So I want to buy more shares in the companies I want to own. Okay, the market is becoming more comfortable and bullish. I haven't been buying a whole lot of stocks in November, and for good reason. That, hey, if the prices are going up, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the gains in my portfolio and wait for the eventual downturn that's going to happen at some point, and then do it all over again. So that's how I study the VIX, and it's been interesting data over the last 6 months to watch, and we'll see how this continues on. All right, so I wanted to cover 3 stocks that have been just, really good winners for the last month, and go over each investment. Now, one thing I want to remind everybody of is my videos are really just to share my journey as an individual value investor. This is not a recommendation to buy any of these companies. It's just for educational purposes, and I hope you find it interesting. So first is Coinbase. Now, Coinbase is not the right investment for everybody. It's cryptocurrency. I can totally understand if you're like, hey, that makes no sense to me, I'm not going to buy. But I've been a comfortable investor, and I started buying into Coinbase. It's just had a tremendous run year to date, but over the last month, it's just taken off. Bitcoin has really stabilized in the mid 30,000 range. Ethereum's doing well. So it's up 46% in the last month. Just a great rise. The last 5 days up 11%. And this stock, again, was left for dead, and I picked it up at a really, really good value. Coinbase generates free cash flow, and it's a high growth company. I know it's a weird space. It's a space that you got to, somewhat study and imagine the future, but you don't have to imagine the real cash flow they're generating. Look at their statement of cash flows. StoneCo is the next company. StoneCo is a lot like PayPal, but they're down in Brazil, and they're growing. They're growing fast, and they're profitable, and they generate free cash flow. And they were up 3%, 3.4% in yesterday's trading. And for the last month, they're up 42%. Overall, this has been a really good winner in my portfolio. I have a pretty good position in StoneCo, pretty sizable position. So it's good to see this stock really just run. Next one is Enphase. Here's a company that was left for dead. They're an innovative company in the solar space. they were trading, their stock was trading above $300 per share, and it's really collapsed. But it had a good day of trading yesterday. More importantly, over the last 10 days, it's up 30%. Just phenomenal rise. And I started buying into Enphase this year, and really have participated fully in this 30% rise, which is fun. Enphase, the things that I like about Enphase is I believe in the solar space. I think it's a market that continues to expand. I think it's a good idea. And Enphase generates free cash flow, and they are seeing their revenue contract to some extent. I think some of the government policies around solar and supporting it, providing tax rebates and all that good stuff, I think that's kind of in flux. But overall, I'm optimistic that solar industry is going to keep growing. And I really like how Enphase is operated. I think they make really good products, and it's a market that continues to expand, and Enphase continues to just get better. So I'm glad I'm an investor in Enphase. Been really nice to see them rise 30% over the last 10 days. So the market's had a great November, and I think the rally is going to continue. I would say it's going to continue for a couple of weeks, if not for the remainder of 2023. I think a lot of investors that wanted to, sell off maybe some stock losses to pair up with some stock gains have probably already done so. They probably did that between July 31st and October when we had that big downturn. And what remains is, I think some really healthy buying. Also, shorts are going to have to cover their shorts as these stock prices increase. And I think a lot of the bear consensus and speak is going to begin to die down. So I'm expecting that for at least a couple of weeks, we're going to have a positive market. And then, week to week, we'll see what happens. It's been a fun ride to see stock prices go up for November. It'd be even funner if they just continue and continue to rise through the end of the year. And we start 2024 on a happy note. So that's my video, just reviewing the stock market and seeing where values are at. I hope you found it interesting. Please do me a favor and like my video and subscribe to my channel. And please leave a comment. Let me know what you think the market's going to do. I'd love to read your comments. Thanks for watching.